All right, so Formula One is finally back. I've been dying not having it. Um, for those people who don't know Formula One that well, every summer there is a mandatory break. It's 3 weeks. Teams have to take 2 of those weeks off. Some of them work the first year uh, of the break and then take the last 2 weeks off. Some of them are off and then work the last 2 weeks, whatever. But basically, it's a chance for the mechanics to kind of cool down, recharge the batteries, and then get back into action. And this week they've been focusing on getting ready for the Belgian Grand Prix because that's our first race back. So, what we're looking at for this race is mostly lower downforce, higher speed. The cars will be approaching up to 200 miles an hour on the Kimmel Straight. And I was actually looking at a map of the track. It's really kind of a flat out section from La Source, which is the first turn, all the way down to Les Combes. They're pretty much, they're definitely full throttle after going through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, all the way down to Les Combes. So it's really funny to watch the cars as they're going down the Kimmel Straight because literally they've got their foot to the floor and the cars are just screaming. I mean, it looks like they're going slow because there's not a whole lot of action going behind the wheel, but they're going 200 miles an hour. The engines are screaming at like 18,000 revs. It's pretty awesome. As you know, the engine designers are sitting there just cringing in the pits because their engines are revving 3 times higher than most road cars, and they're just waiting for a conrod to snap or something. But it's great. So the teams that'll be pushing for a race win or even really high podium finishes, pretty much all of the Mercedes-powered cars. You've got Mercedes McLaren, Force India. Force India usually does better at tracks like Spa than they do any other time of the year, and I think it's down to engine. I think Force India is kind of an example of a team that has sort of a mid-pack aero package. They're not like a Red Bull. They don't have incredible amounts of downforce. But they don't have a whole lot of, speed all the time in sort of medium downforce corners. So anyways, those are the teams to look at. Also, I'd keep an eye on the Renault drivers and Red Bull. I mean, Red Bull's going to be quick. They're going to be quick in sort of corners like Puhan and even coming up to the bus stop chicane. They've got a lot of stability under braking, so they got to pick up some time there. But there's a little bit of a legal kerfuffle at Renault. They ended up, for those people who don't know the whole backstory, one of my favorite drivers is Robert Kubica. And before this season started, he was racing in a rally car race. A lot of the drivers in their spare time do other things. I know Kimi Räikkönen used to always, I think he did rallying. But basically, I mean, they have some time off after the season for a couple months, and Kubica was in a really bad car accident. He's really lucky to even be alive because part of a metal guardrail intruded into the car. But he had hand damage. He wasn't going to be able to race. He's still recovering, and actually, it sounded like from reports today that he's may not even be back next season, which had me upset for quite a while. But so when Kubica got hurt, Renault brought in Nick Heidfeld, and Heidfeld had been at BMW while they were still around, and then Sauber, and then he was the Pirelli test driver. So he's kind of just bounced around. BMW was really his last really solid gig where he put in any solid time, but he was good there. And then, of course, BMW left. But he hasn't really performed at Renault, and by that I mean he hasn't consistently done better than Vitaly Petrov. And, Vitaly's been there. That's, been his team since he started racing in F1. But I think the Renault bosses, I think Bouillet, that's how you pronounce his name, and I think even the fans were expecting for Nick Heidfeld to be able to get into the car and start challenging for podiums. Because Renault can build a really great car. I've watched a couple of the previous year's Belgian Grand Prix because I had empty F1 time. And, Kubica was challenging for podiums, a podium spot last year. So I think what happened is, the expectations were that Heidfeld would be able to move the team forward, and in fact, he's not really been much better than Petrov most of the time. So they gave Heidfeld the axe. But instead of bringing in somebody like Pedro de la Rosa, sort of a more experienced hand, they brought in Bruno Senna. And Bruno Senna was racing at HRT before they dropped him. And for those of you who don't follow F1, HRT is like, they're awful. They're one of the new teams. They've only been around for a couple years. But they've actually got their reliability up, but they are consistently on the back row. They're no Team Lotus where they've got, they're moving forward. Sometimes they're challenging mid-pack runners. They're bad. But they brought in Bruno Senna. Apparently he impressed them during some tests. They did do some tests. I think he did practice one Friday for a race. So they brought in Bruno Senna. And Heidfeld's not going quietly. He is bringing a case. He's basically saying that he has a contract to drive, and a contract that says that he'll be one of the two main drivers for the team. It'll be interesting, having not done like advanced contract drafting, and definitely not being in the sports arena. I imagine there's some kind of performance clause in his contract that says if he's not performing up to a certain level, that they're able to strip him of his seat. I don't see, we're just going to give you a contract for a year with no stipulations as to your performance. And I think it's going to be hard for Heidfeld to say that he's been performing, in a manner consistent with what they brought him in for, because they brought him in because he's a veteran, and he's being consistently beaten by a rookie. So that'll be interesting to see what happens, but as of now, the court has said that Bruno Senna can step in. So it'll be interesting to see, if he's getting his butt beat by, a Williams car or, some of the lower mid-pack Sauber. That'll be a wake-up call. He's got to very quickly get up to speed and start producing results. Another interesting thing from Renault, Renault is different from everybody else on exhaust setup. Most teams are doing sort of a exiting exhaust that blows the rear diffuser basically kind of from within and on top. But Renault's done something different, and they do a front exiting exhaust. Basically, it exits, to my best of my technical understanding, right in front of the pods. The side pods, the radiator side pods. That's my best understanding of how it exits. And they had tested doing like most teams do and have it blowing out the back. But now they're back. They said, no, we don't like that. It's either next year or in 2013. They all have to exit straight out of the back of the car, but I think higher. Basically what they're trying to do is get away from any of the exhaust gases influencing aerodynamics. So that'll be interesting. It was especially interesting as, some people were saying that perhaps their exhaust design was the reason why Heidfeld's car exploded. There was a race, I believe it was the last race, where he had mechanical problems and the whole side pod blew out. It was the first time anybody could remember an actual engine explosion in F1. But that was interesting. So I'm super looking forward to Spa. The track has been around for forever. The weather changes constantly. It's sort of a elongated track, so more than other tracks, it can be raining on one side and dry on the other. And we've seen in a few years that um, people who go out onto intermediate tires burn them up so fast because it's only raining, down into the bus stop chicane and La Source, but it's not raining over in Puhan and Lecum. So it'd be interesting to see what the weather does. I'm of course hoping for some rain. Because it lightens things up a little bit. But anyways, that's a little bit of F1 news.